I am a fool. That is one thing for certain. Hey, my name is Brian Curtis, and I'm the founder of Decentralized Systems. And today I have Divya Parekh. Is that how you pronounce your last name?
You got it.
Awesome. And you have started the DP Group LLC. I think you said you have two branches of business. So obviously, my first question is always, where did you get to where you're at now? Give us as much backstory as you like, because I'm always interested in, I know that listeners are always interested in, what kind of steps brought you to wherever you're at. And you help entrepreneurs and people become influencers. So let's just hear as much as you'd like to tell us.
Absolutely. So, well, let's go to the beginning. It's not that far off, even though you may feel like, I'm super ancient or anything like that. I grew up writing stories, and whenever somebody came, I'd read the stories to them. And of course, people are now thinking back, I'm like, oh my goodness, I must have put those poor people through misery. Because usually people don't want to say no to a child, like, hey, do you want to listen to a new short story or my new poem? So as I grew up, I got interested in science by training and trade. I'm a biochemist, neuroscience background, danced into academia, went from there into Fortune 50, Fortune 500 company, running multi-million dollar projects. And there came a time when I had a young family, and that time, my husband was in IT. And as you all know, like during 2005, 2008, people in IT were not valued. So rumors were going around in my company that people may get laid off. And lo and behold, we go there and the rumor comes true because I had moved in different careers. So I could do jobs for a lot of different areas and for a lot of different people. So I wasn't laid off. That said, when people were just handed that slips and were walked out without being given the time to say goodbye to their friends or whatever you want to say, it just left a mark on me. And I was very fortunate to have been working and bringing life-saving medications to the market. And I was always like, yeah, we are helping somebody at the end of the road. And when I went through that, I wanted a change in career. It just impacted me really, really hard. And I was like, all right, what is it that's going to bring me fulfillment? What is it that's going to give me that empowerment and something that where I can have not a transaction after transaction in my life, but bring about transformation. So as I thought through, I moved into coaching consulting area. And as they say, rest is history.
Nice. So yeah, I mean, I can relate. I've been through similar things where you see things where you're working and you're just, it's like, what do I have to do to be of service where this doesn't happen as frequently, or what you're witnessing is what's happening. Is it doesn't seem like, it just doesn't seem natural, right? It feels like relationships are getting pulled apart, and it's, you know I've witnessed that for years now, and I think that was pre 2008, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So where was this at? I don't know where you're located. Was this in the States or?
I'm in North Carolina.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, in IT departments back then, yeah, IT was expanding a lot back then. So does your husband still work in IT?
Yeah, yeah, he is. And so this happened in my company. So what I was saying was that at that time, there was all this hype and also the threat, right? And if you're living under that threat continuously, like, oh, my job is gone here. And like now we are hearing that again. We saw it in 2008, and now we're seeing it like, Amazon is laying off 18,000 people. Twitter has laid off so many people. We are hearing from Facebook, and now they're talking about Google. So on one hand, tech people can just kind of ride the wave and have awesome careers where they get paid, 300, 400,000 or even more in the Bay Area. And then all of a sudden that it comes in hordes where things happen. So it can be a tough place to be.
So you decided to start helping entrepreneurs then? Is that your main goal right now?
Well, my main goal is to bring about transformation. And what I decided was I went for coaching, where I've spent almost a year and a half getting International Coach Federation, like went through a program, very, very, how should I say, very intense, very immersive program. And then from there, I started continuing to help folks in leadership. So I've been doing leadership coaching and executive coaching on one side. And on the other side, I help entrepreneurs become influencers. And at the core of everything is it's 3 steps. So one is, what is that narrative we are telling ourselves? How are we showing up? How much experience are you having from that life that you live? Because so many times people just pass through lives. Is there that vibrancy? Because if you have gone through the day and, I've asked so many of my clients, tell me, what is your most remarkable moment today? And they're like, huh? Like that day is gone. And I know that's cliche, but that's sad. If you don't bring that vibrancy back into your lives, you're just passing through life. So that first thing is, are you showing up for yourself? Then second is, okay, now you're showing up yourself. What is the story that you're telling yourself? So the key is developing that strong narrative about yourself. The second step is, how are you showing up for others? And the third step is, how are others perceiving you? Because the message that you're giving and then the message that other people are receiving, if it does not align, then there is something broken somewhere. So it's super important to align what you're projecting and what is being perceived.
Yeah, making sure that your clarity is good, right? I mean, I think all of us have struggled at some point or another, trying to get a point across, and then somebody is totally misunderstands what you're trying to put out there. And you see breakdowns in relationships because of that too, especially in business. I've seen so many teams break apart because all of them had the same intent, but because of the way they were coming up and presenting themselves, they misunderstood each other and thought they were coming from a totally different place. And so it just ends up being this, it's just a confusing atmosphere. Nobody knows where everybody's
Oh,
coming from.
absolutely. Like teams. I've worked with so many teams where people were getting along really well, and then the teams, there were just some miscommunications. It's just about sitting and having that conversation, setting expectations and aligning those expectations. It again kind of goes back into alignment and having that harmony. And so many times what happens is, even in companies, a lot of my clients from corporate will come and tell me, I feel not heard. I feel that, I don't have a voice, and then I don't want to speak up. And when you're sitting there, oh, I wish I had said something, because by the time I'm thinking, oh, I can put my point is, I'm thinking about oh, what are other people going to think about me? Am I going to appear stupid, or are they going to think, oh, I'm just kind of talking too much? And then they always, most of the common issue or the common complaint that comes back is that by the time I was ready to say it, somebody else had said it. So it's about being opportunity ready. Also, because if you don't have the resilience and if you're not showing up to create your own opportunity, or when that opportunity arises through something else, you're going to lose out on so many different trajectories in life where you can grow either as a person, either professionally, or as a business owner.
Yeah, and it's all to do with relationships too, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's always about a person that you meet, that you hit it off with and you get along with, and you can explore those relationships. Everything for me has always been relationships. And speak on, maybe instilling confidence, because I know confidence is a big thing for people where they don't feel like maybe even what they're offering at a deep level, they don't feel like what they're offering is worth even speaking, right? Because there's even on the surface level, they think they might have a good idea, but when you talk to them a little bit longer, you can tell that, they just don't have that deeper awareness where at some level they felt rejected, right? And that you know, they don't feel like what they're bringing to the table is important. And for me personally, I've never heard anything from anybody that I didn't think was important, because we're all coming from so many different places. But I love to hear everybody's take on everything, right? So I think, how do you deal with that with entrepreneurs?
Well, one of the things, let's kind of take a look at it. Regardless, whoever you are, I always say that, like, you take you everywhere you go. And it's, a lot of people think, oh gosh, you know, when I'm speaking with somebody, to my prospect or to my client, or if I'm speaking to my boss or to site leadership team or executives, I'm very different. I'm like, okay, you're different, but remember, it's you who takes you everywhere that you go. And a couple of things that you hear about is imposter syndrome. And that is very widely spread between both men and women, as well as if you kind of think about the empty suit syndrome that has been happening very recently. So because what happens is, so many times people want to leap ahead very fast. And when you're leaping ahead super fast, so, like, you know, there are several different aspects, and given the time we have, I'm not going to delve into everything, just kind of hit upon a few different things. One is, if you go very wide and shallow, then yes, you do have the knowledge, yet you have not had the time to absorb it, that where it becomes part of who you are, part of the very being, that person that you are. And in that situation, let's say if you're caught up in an area where, like, you know, you are in a meeting, or you have somebody who's more knowledgeable than you, and then that kind of shakes you up. Then another place is that where people have been exposed or have had bad experiences. So, like, sharing, like, you know, from the brain perspective, our brain retains a lot of different memories, and brain does not know any different between reality and imagination. So if something happens, let's say a challenge is coming in, or you are going out of your comfort zone, public speaking, number one fear in any area that you want to talk about. So when you're feeling that discomfort, your brain is designed to survive. It's not designed to thrive. Brain will only suffice, not optimize. So what brain does is, it's going to pull out those experiences where you have had somebody put you down, like, that, you know, that idea doesn't matter. Oh, what you're sharing is it. Somebody has challenged you when you were talking, and then they put you down. So you're pulling on those experiences, and what happens is, like, oh yeah, that happened, I cannot speak up. So what's happening over here is you're getting in your way. So I want to go back to what you said, awareness. The first step is building awareness. When is this happening? What is triggering these emotions? What is triggering those thoughts? What are you feeling? Where are you feeling? Where are you sensing it in your body? And when that trigger happens, what is it that you do? Take a step back. Take that pause. Because in the pause lies the power of choice. Because whether you take that action or you don't take action, you are making a decision. You are choosing something. So are you going to choose yourself? What is the story you're telling yourself? So a couple of ways to, you know, just as simple, if you were to talk about implementation, like if your audience were to walk away, is when that feeling comes in, sit down and ask yourself, what narrative am I telling myself? What is that self-talk that's going on in my mind? Then think about it and look at it deeply. How is that serving me? Is it stopping me from taking that chance? Is it keeping me in my comfort zone? And then the third thing is, what is it that you're going to do about it? Okay. Become aware that you may not be enough. That's what you're telling yourself. It's all right. Then secondly, how is it serving you? It's keeping you safe. Third is to question it. Is it really keeping you safe? Or is it holding you back? And in that moment, when you're taking that pause, it's super important to give yourself permission to fail. Because I'll tell you, I've got mastery in failure. I've had so many failure after failures that,
Everybody that's successful will tell you the same story.
yes, I have failed. And like, here's what I'll say that, like, as you talked about it, I didn't know when I showed up on your podcast what am I going to be talking about. So maybe there may be some things that people don't resonate with. And one of the stories that I would like to share with you. So initially, when we had started, I had partnered with somebody when we had started our first company, and we designed this program, leadership program. Yeah, it's going to be super powerful. And if when I go back and take a look at it, it was darn good program. Guess what though? I didn't know anything about marketing. We bought a really nice big meeting room. Oh yeah, we are going to have at least 40 people. So we ordered the food, paid the money in full, went out and made those cards, like postcards, sent it out. We only had 2 people show up. So here we were. We just thinking, oh my goodness. And we had gotten all the audio equipment. So we spent so much. All the food is there, audio equipment, the audio guy is there. And only 2 people showed up. So were we embarrassed during that time? Yes, we were embarrassed. And we owned up. Like, and my partner said, hey, folks, we were hoping, we look at this, we have got this exercise, and these tables laid out. And we said, doesn't matter. We are here to serve. We are going to give you our best. So we could have been embarrassed. And yes, we were embarrassed. I can tell you, we were thoroughly embarrassed. We did feel that shame. But the idea was we took that pause. And we revisited why were we in this game? So the narrative was, it was not about her. It was not about me. It was about, as you say, being in service of others. And you won't believe it is one of the most memorable workshops that I have done. Even though we were only 4 people, there was such a deep level connection. And those 2 people walked away with ton of value and ton of breakthroughs. And so most fascinating. So that's one of the things I'll say is that it's important that in that moment, give yourself permission to fail. It's important to fail forward. And when I talk about fail forward, is the more you fail, the more you know what's working and what's not working.
Well, yeah, you're constantly getting feedback. How are you going to get feedback if you don't keep going forward, right? That's you said it in just exactly the way. I just got done writing about this because I just told you I'm writing a book, but
Right.
our traumas actually keep us from breathing. All we're doing is breathing energy into each other, and a trauma will keep you from breathing. It suffocates you because you have a fear or some sense of identity that's not real. It's just something that you have placed on yourself that's keeping you from doing what you want to do, right? And yeah, I mean, just anything that's keeping you from doing what you really want to do is a trauma. It's some kind of fear that's keeping you from moving forward. Fear of failure is going to create failure. Just moving forward will just help you learn and grow. I mean, that's just as simple as that, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I don't want to keep you all day. I warned you that I wanted to hear a really good story. So I want to hear maybe one of your favorite stories, because helping people is really fulfilling. And if you've done that for a long time, anything that has, I've have my own stories, but even just a word sometimes can bring about a change in somebody. So I would love to hear one of your favorite stories.
Absolutely. And is it okay if I share a story about my client?
Whatever you'd like.
Okay, thank you. So I want to share, I had this wonderful client and from outside. So she was referred to me by somebody else, very successful on the outside, in the sense she was doing 6-figure business. She was married to a nice guy, had kids, good house. So if you kind of look at all the societal checkpoints, right? All that success, like what we are like, the way the society and the way the culture has designed and defined, like it's not about like, oh, I got mastery over my thoughts. Check, that's in my definition, that's a success. So for her, if you were to go by the societal checkpoints, it was like, like a when you take your car for the 28, that oil and lube, they do the checkpoints. So for her, it was check, 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 check. And I was kind of surprised in our first session, like, not sure what is she here for. And she said that, is this confidential? I'm like, of course. Anything that's said over here is confidential. It does not go back to anyone. And what she shared was that she was feeling empty. She had a wonderful job, this fantastic job where she was doing great. She said that, like, I am sitting here and we are making decisions that are not meaningful. It's all about profit, profit, profit. I find even though I've got wonderful kids, I've got great husband, everything is good, but I feel empty. I feel that I'm just wasting my life away. And where is this going? I feel just floating on the sea aimlessly. So we sat down, and through different trajectories, that what was it that she wanted? And what she found out was, which is so surprising, she wanted to be an artist when she was in college. And her parents were lawyers. Her parents convinced her that being an artist was not going to bring money, and it was not a career, it was a hobby, and it was downplayed so much that she just put it aside. She locked it away. And then the question came, is that as an artist, what was it that she could do? She hadn't done anything. And then we went through a lot of soul searching, a lot of exploration. And then she realized that she had a knack for this graphic designing, where she was using Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Premiere, regardless, as a hobby. She would take her kids' pictures and Photoshop them and just adding different things and creating those collages. And she had a camera. So for the artistry just doesn't mean that you sit and draw for her. And she used to take pictures at all those PTA meetings, at her kids' sports events, or like birthday parties. And we explored. And I said, what gives you the biggest pleasure? What's your purpose? So she finally landed on her purpose was that she wanted to bring smile to people's faces. She wanted to see people's eyes light up with something tangible. Lo and behold, she had that skill set about photography. She said that whenever I give people those collages, whenever I make those small albums and give it to, people are so happy and they remember me by I'm part of their lives. And so many people have come and told me that I make them come alive in the pictures, and it's just that I'm able to catch those moments. She sat down with her family, with her kids. I mean, things would have had to change. And she was surprised that everybody was there to support her. So they took a stock of their finances. She figured it out, created an exit plan. And I can tell you right now, she is very happy, and her family is happy because she is in her family. And she is in that moment. She's living that life. And her family said so to her, that mom, and her husband told her, like, you were not with us. So that's one of the stories I want to leave you with.
That's an excellent story. That matches everything that I believe in, right? I mean, if you focus on the money, you know, there's no such thing as a love of money. You're always going to be loving some kind of service that you're providing for people. And if you never followed that, what you felt like you were designed to do, then any job is not going to be fulfilling, right? There's nothing, just the empty money doesn't really mean anything. So perfect story for our exit. Thank you, Divya. I loved having you today. It was an honor meeting you, and hoped we can keep in touch.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brian, for having me. It was an honor to be on your show.
All right, thanks. Bye-bye.